Alright everyone, welcome to the Film Fest. I guess we'll just do some quick intros. My name is Dan. I work at Ciele Athletics. I have sales and marketing for them. Very happy to be here, very excited for this, our first edition of the Film Fest. It's an idea that I guess has been brewing with Brenden and Cooper and the team at Trials and Miles. Sort of been brewing on our side as well at Ciele Athletics, and we, less than 2 months ago, Brenden, Cooper, and myself set off an email chain saying, hey, we should chat about an idea, something that we could work on together. And it was less than 2 months ago, and it turned into the Film Fest. We launched registration early October, mid-October. Everyone had about 6 weeks to submit by November 24th, and we really didn't know what to expect. We kind of thought it could go two ways. We could end up with tons of films, we could end up with five films, and in the end, we ended up getting 35 films submitted, which was, again, way beyond our expectations. And it was a really healthy mix. There were films that were clearly made in the past and sort of re-edited down to fit the guidelines and under 2 minutes. There were films that were original submissions that people went out and filmed. There were dramatic ones, there were funny ones, a span of different subjects, and yes, once again, we were very impressed by both quality, the diversity of films that were submitted for something that we really was a bit of a Hellraiser. So I'll introduce the two other people here with me. There's Brenden Clarke, my friend. He's one of the founders of Trials and Miles, and he has given me permission to drop what his next move or one of the next moves in his career. He's going to be heading up photo and video for Gap, starting in the new year. So, Brenden?
Excited to be here. Thank you so much. We're really excited to watch these 12 films and talk about them. And excited to be here.
This is Alexi, my sworn enemy. But we're still excited to have her here. Obviously, Alexi has worked on bigger films than some of these submissions, but it's really cool to have you here. And she has not seen any of the films, so we're also going to be able to get her very visceral live reaction to everything that's shown up here on the screen.
I'm so happy to be here, and I will just say that just like showing up to a race, finishing a film is a huge accomplishment in and of itself, and so it is pretty special, and it is a privilege to be here with people's finished short projects. You know, like, I feel like in running, the thing that can be bothersome is when people are like, well, if I had shown up to the race, I would have thought, and it's like, well, did you show up? And what I want to say about all these films and all these filmmakers is that they showed up and they did it, and that's a really big deal. It's a miracle to make a film happen, and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And then to see the crossover and the support from the athletic world for the arts is something that is rare and hopefully will become more and more common. So thank you for having me.
Awesome. So for us at Ciele Athletics, storytelling is something that's always been very important to the brand. We launched the Ciele Athletics Journal in the early years of when the company started, and it's something that we just continue to build on year over year. So another thing that we're going to be launching is Ciele Athletics Pictures, which is our sort of film division. If you think about the acronym, there's a little gem in there as well. And the winner of this, as chosen by the judges, is going to get a $10,000 budget to produce a film for Ciele Athletics Pictures for us next year. So it's story-based, it's up to them to decide what the story is, who's in it. We're really not providing too many guidelines, we're just there as a platform to help release that film. And so tonight we will be one of the 12 submissions that worked its way to the judges. We'll be announcing which one has been chosen as the winner and gets that budget to work on the film for us next year. We'll maybe allude to this later, but Brenden is also working on a film for Ciele Athletics Pictures, but we'll find a time to chat about that a little bit later on. Really quickly, we had a panel of 6 judges reviewing all the films. There's myself, There's Brenden, there's Jason Suarez, who's a Queens native and Olympic photographer. He's also the founder of Long Distance Magazine. There's Darcy Hennessey Turenne, who is a former professional mountain biker in Canada. She is a outdoor sport filmmaker. She filmed a documentary called The Moment on the history of freeride in the North Shore in Vancouver. So she was on the panel. Julien Vallee is a creative director at an agency called Vallee duhamel in Montreal, and he likes to focus on capturing complex narratives in unconventional ways. And then Julie Freeman is one of the co-founders of Like the Wind magazine. So another brand that we're both friends with. They jumped on as a partner a couple of days after we launched this entire thing, so we're also very excited to have Like the Wind on board, and Julie was one of the judges. So, our first film is called 10 Gold, and it was made by James Gordino. It's a documentary short about a lovable track coach named Bill Welsh and his quest to win 10 gold medals in one Masters track meet, despite his age and a diagnosis. So as the competition unfolds, Bill reveals how running keeps him alive. So let's kick it off with 10 gold.
I'm competing in 10 events at the State Masters Track and Field Championship. I am running the 100 meters, 200 meters, 400 meters, 800 meters. I'll be throwing the shot, the discus, the javelin, and throwing the hammer. I will be doing the long jump and the triple jump. I hope to come home wearing 10 gold medals. You know, I'm setting a pretty high standard for myself.
Do you have any medical history?
Yeah, let's just put down cancer. I took my chemo this morning before the meet. The doctors kind of think that's what's keeping me alive. But what do they know? We know it's the running. There's no failing in running. If you live long enough and you love what you're doing, you're a winner. We're getting better. It's a terrible disease, but I have to face it every day. And every morning I wake up thanking God. I'm lucky. I want to live. Oh, yeah. When you're my age, you can't look back. You can only look ahead to what joy, what fun, what effort can I put in tomorrow. Maybe I could have been president. But I enjoy just being a runner. When's the next event? I waited all day for this. Oh, that's good.
It'd be great to hear your initial reactions to that. We'll just spend a minute or two on that before we move on to the next film.
Congratulations to the filmmaker, James. This is awesome because the world of masters athletics, I feel, has this charm to it that makes us all giggle, and that's what I felt at the beginning of the film. And then the real needle drop was the reality that this Bill hero is more of a hero than we imagined, and I enjoyed this very much.
Yeah, I found that something about this one that I really loved was the pacing. For only 2 minutes, we learned so much about him. How much he loves running, his experience with cancer, and just how he's living his life, to the fullest, and just how happy he comes across. I think we were fully brought into who he was as a person before we knew that he had cancer. We kind of fell in love with him, and I just really loved how we were able to kind of navigate it in such a short period of time, and just really display how lovely he was as a human being.
Yeah, and the best part about short films are like when you want to see the feature version of it, and I think that this is the movie that we need to see much more of.
Yeah, I would agree. Amazing.
Congratulations,
Thank you.
James.
Excellent. Our next film is called Giants Talk. It's by filmmaker Manuel Perich. This is submitted, I believe he lives in Austria, so an international submission. And he wrote as a sort of short description to the film, I feel the constant presence of mountains, trees, boulders watching us. At one point, I started to talk to them. Sometimes loud, sometimes whispering, and sometimes just listening. So this is a clip about honoring every cold breeze, every silent moment when no one is around, and I have this glimpse of calmness. Giants Talk.
There was this giant in the mist. I barely even saw him, covered in water and dirt. He gently opened his eyes while we passed this land. He watched us, running in the rain, a gentle greeting, and here I am, feetless, headless, nameless. As a sign of steam, I stood there, no words, no motion, no being. It was about an hour or more that I didn't move, and it started to talk. I hear you, I see you.
Yeah, I thought this one was an interesting one. I definitely wanted to see more. I thought technically it was pretty beautiful. It really drew you in with that opening shot. But it left me wanting more, I think. I don't know how you feel about it, but I almost left, not confused, but just, I want to know more about this person narrating. And like, it took me to a good place, but I was kind of yearning for more.
Yes, I felt that, but I also felt that this is an example of why film exists, because we really couldn't have, if it was just the narrative, the narration alone, if it was, for example, like the beginning of a book, I don't know that I would have understood as much as I did with the visuals. And I love when a movie proves that it should be a movie. And we hope that this filmmaker shows us the next minutes of this on their next project, because we want to see more.
Excellent. The next film, so we're actually very happy to have two of the filmmakers who made it into the final selection of 12 here with us today. So this next film is called Varsity Dudes. It's by Anthony Solorzano. There he is. Great to have you here, Anthony. And this is a thematic musical short about how two teenagers of very different social cliques eventually become friends through their transformation as runners. This is Varsity Dudes.
That like made me cry, Anthony, because it was like the coolest thing about short films is when the like mystery at the beginning of like where are they going and how does this end buttons up and like perfectly. And these two rascals, we knew that they might intersect. I think that was like teased in a way, but it was like in what form and how and when. And it was just really, really fun and energetic from the start, and then really, really beautiful at the end. And I think it shows how this sport can start from any seed, and when they walk and run away together, it's like the perfect little, like, we're ready for them to continue on their, like, the rest of their lives together like that. So congratulations, Anthony. That's amazing.
Yeah, I think what I really loved about this piece it was extremely exciting. Just the pacing of the filming was wonderful. It clearly took a lot of time to develop certain shots and make sure that it flowed in a really natural way. But at the same time, I'm getting really excited and also being drawn into this deeper story of these two individuals. And I love when you can watch a film and there's different layers going on, right? Like there's this enjoyment just from an entertainment factor, but then there's also this deeper level of storytelling, which is, it's easy to make something look beautiful, but it's difficult to make you feel beautiful inside. And I feel this film I really wanted to know when they were going to connect, and I was waiting for it, and I felt like it made me start yearning for it, and then they finally met, and the way that they kind of had this coming together moment, I really enjoyed. It's amazing work, truly.
And okay, the last thing is, I feel like with shorts, you don't have time to explain like a lot of the whys, like a lot of that just you have to like let it drop, and you did such a good job of like whether you knew why the character was being chased and the character, like whether we knew why we didn't have to know as the audience, and I feel like you're really wise to like know what we need to know to get it in there. So.
Awesome. This next film is called This Is My Race by Varsity. And of note here, he just got into making video in the last year. He lives in Canmore, Alberta, which is the home of lots of Olympians, and he wanted to create a film that was going to highlight one of his friends, Aaron Tetley, who has overcome weight issues through running and found success in living a healthier life. So he wanted to produce a film that shows that running can be for everyone, and success in the solo sport should be measured on one's personal goals. Aaron's a close friend of his and is always inspiring others to achieve their goals and reach for the stars. She's in everyone's corner all the time, to her disadvantage sometimes, but she always pushes on at her own pace. This is my race. This is my race.
Looking back on my life, I've always been perceived as that fun, friendly, outgoing person, but honestly, deep down inside, I've really been suffering with depression and anxieties and insecurities. I've always put my energy into everyone around me, into work, and that distracted me from the energy that I put into myself, and from there, it stemmed into me pushing 290 pounds and not loving me, and I needed to learn how to love myself. Growing up, I can remember my dad always dealing with the challenges of being overweight, and even though he wanted to make the change, when he was exceeding almost 400 pounds, the internal damage was already done. I still remember the moment that I got the phone call telling me that my dad just had a heart attack. I remember standing there in the ICU over my dad, telling me that if I didn't change my life, that this would be me. From that moment on, I had no more excuses. I needed to change my life around. I've always enjoyed spending my time outside, and that's where I got introduced to hiking. And even though I was overweight, my motto was, I'm slow but I go. And from there, I eventually got stronger and faster, which then transitioned into running. This journey that I'm on doesn't have a finish line. This is my race, that'll always be running.
Yeah, this one made me cry when I first watched it, I'm not gonna lie. You know, I just felt like this, at its core, was such a human story that so many people could relate to struggling and relate to someone else in your life being a catalyst for change and going through something. And I thought on just a story level, it was really well executed. It was very honest. I didn't feel like they were trying to do anything other than tell the truth, which came across very, very well. And I also thought for being like a very new filmmaker, just kind of like the editing and we know that this film they told us was like made I think like a week and a half ago or something.
November 20th.
Shot on November 20th. So it's just an incredible testament to creativity and storytelling in a short period of time, and I thought it was a phenomenal piece.
Very well said. I think my favorite part was the beginning and the ending being a similar visual, but having her mouth, because I couldn't take my eyes off her face in the beginning, and it looked like how we normally look when we run, like just this like very raw human face, and her mouth is open in the beginning, and at the end her mouth is smiling, and it's like she's cold and trying hard, but she's still smiling, and I will remember that image for a really long time. So very, very well done. This is like a example of well done, like short doc style piece that doesn't belabor on any one moment. It's great.
The next video is called For Stanley by Bobby Sullivan. Why do you run? Everyone has their reasons and the conventions don't matter. Runners are a different breed where pain is the expectation and the consequence. What matters is whatever gets you out the door. And in this case, it's a little bit different. For Stanley.
I run for my kids.
I run for my community.
I run because I'm deathly afraid of apes.
I run to set an example.
I run to lead the way.
I pay a friend of a friend $400 a month to dress up like a gorilla and chase me. It's the only thing that motivates me to get off the couch. I'm super scared of gorillas. One time, he touched me and I spit up.
I run for me.
For me.
For Stanley. Stanley is the guy that I pay to dress up like a gorilla and chase me around. He helped me face my fear of apes, drop my lactate threshold by 45 seconds, and he introduced me to the band Spoon.
Run for fun.
Oh boy! Someone took a tumble.
Thoughts?
Amazing, self-aware, and just like an example of why the person making the film, just like in any art, I think the person making the art is always like wiser than the like characters in it, and that's like very clear here that the filmmaker is clever and brings you in that like earnest way where you're like, all right, this is going to be that type of thing, and then it's so not.
Yeah, I remember the first time I watched this film, and within 10 seconds I thought, is there stock footage in this, in this film? And then kind of that moment of realizing this was a comedy was so much more funny just because of that. And I'm curious if that was a deliberate decision to choose to do the most generic footage possible, because it definitely made me appreciate the film a lot more, because I kind of wrote it off immediately. I just kind of instantly was like, I don't know about this, and was just so pleasantly surprised.
You just have to hang in there for like 15 more seconds.
Exactly.
It's also really lovely and nice when you feel taken care of by a film, where it's like, all right, we're going to take care of you here. We are like not giving you a hug. This is not a hug. This was an arm around your shoulder type film. That's how I felt.
Yeah, I would love to see a longer film on Stanley as well. So please, we'd love to see it.
Our next film is called Movement, and it's by Dave Hashim. In movement, two athletes discuss their bodies in motion from the inside out. This is movement.
I am present. It's definitely something that takes every nerve ending to accomplish, so you have to be really in tune with all of them. I don't want to have the deepest presence of mind. I want to just know that I am pushing my body forward and doing it continuously. And it's really nice to have that time where you don't have to be on. You don't have to be anything. You just have to be moving.
Living life, we get caught up in trying to appease the outer forces that, you know, that we have to deal with on a regular basis. But a lot of times we go against ourselves, you know, pleasing everything outside of us. So having that awareness of your body, again, your mind and everything else that makes you who you are is vital, because it allows you to never go against yourself, never go against the grain. And that in itself within your entire existence is so important, because the minute that you start living for everybody else is the minute that you actually start dying quicker. So I think having that awareness of your body and to the universe and God is vital.
Okay, I couldn't help but notice that the characters, when we were with them in their homes, I assume it's their homes, we only saw their backs. And I think that's really interesting because we can't see our own upper back. So like what we were seeing was a part of them that they can't see. And then when we saw them running, we're seeing like them have agency over their lives, and we're seeing their face coming at us. And I don't know, I would want to talk to the filmmaker and be like, why their backs? Because we had the girl laying in bed and her back, and we had the back of the male runner as well. And I actually really liked it because it wasn't immediately obvious to me why. So I was like, I would need to watch it again. I want to watch it again. And I'm continuing to think on other things too. Go ahead and dive in.
Yeah, I found this film to be extremely intimate in a way that typically when you see kind of, I guess it would be kind of a doc style piece, you have, you know, B-roll and interview, to display almost no footage of the actual interview happening was fascinating to me. And this is, I mean, it's very intimate. This one was like in bed, and it's like a lot of like skin, and I just thought that it really made me kind of question in a good way like why this was happening, and it kind of promoted a far more intimate experience and made the words feel a lot kind of, I don't know, just more intense than if it was a more traditional style. And I would love to know why the filmmaker made that decision, what he was thinking when he came to that decision to kind of display the subjects in that way.
Yes, and then I also noticed that the camera at the end, so it's moving with the runner through the city over that like bridge-like thing, and it's moving as if it's like the eye or him, or us watching him, and then it just suddenly stops moving, and it's like completely fixed, and it was jarring, and not in like a bad way, but in a like now we're back to reality when you're not running, when you're looking at things, they're not like shaking like when we're running. And again, I will have that discussion with the filmmaker when I meet them one day.
Our next film is by a filmmaker called Annalise Mecca. The film is called Mahmoud, and it is, Mahmoud knew he wouldn't find a safe and secure life in his beloved Afghanistan, so he traveled by foot, lorry, and paddleboat to reach Greece. As he waits the answer to his asylum claim on an island known for its horrid camp conditions and maltreatment of asylum seekers, he has every reason to be tired. Yet day after day, he wakes up before the sun to log pre-dawn miles, and in the evening, lead his fellow runners, the yoga and sport with refugees running team, along the rocky, dusty trails of Lesbos. Because without a family, mental health care, or a home, he found all of those things in his team, in running, and in the yoga and sport with refugee gym. And now Mahmoud has dreams.
Here I find my dream. I didn't have dream at Afghanistan. I just work it, find money, eat food, finish. Afghanistan is the best, but unfortunately we don't have security. Always scared from Taliban. If I don't have any security, but I cannot continue my life.
Hello, my name is Mahmoud. I am from Afghanistan. I live inside the Lesbos. I started running here. در اینجا که ما هستیم در تیم دویش ما خیلی مثلا خیلی خوشحال هستیم که کلی ما مثلا یک جا هستیم در تیم. بعد میریم در دویش اینا خیلی احساس راحتیم نه و خیلی برای اینا هم ورزش میشه و اینا هم و دیگه ای که در اینجا هستیم روز تا روز پر انرژی تر، محکمتر، خوشحالتر و قشنگتر در نظر میاییم و مردم هم میگه که بهترینی فکر و چشم از اون طرف مردم باشد و اون باید در کارهای ادامه بدیم و دیگه ای که برای از اینا همون یک چانس هست که اینا میتونن از چانس استفاده کنن و بیاید I just decided here because I find it my dreams for Olympic. I will got the goals 1 month off. We have competition inside the Lesbos. All of night I thinking about competition, how I should go fast, and every day I training hard. I should be first, and then all of the people know Mahmoud is the best. He can do it. He's brave. If you want to be a good person, if you want to be a dangerous, a big person, dangerous like strong, brave person, you should be silent and continue your way. And one day all of the people will know. Yeah, that's truth.
I love that, and that struck me very personally because when in countries like this, like I've encountered a lot of these like community runners in Greece in particular, and it's really, really wild how much this captures like the spirit of participating in something every single day, even though everything else is like complete chaos. And I think the movie, what was the line at the end? It said dangerous like brave?
Dangerous big person, brave.
Exactly, and I think that should have been the title of this short film, because if you think about where this person might have come from or what might have been the alternative, and that this was the choice they made, it's really cool. And then as a filmmaker, I think to pull in the aerial shots and the things, meant that we really saw the scope of what this world is. And it's kind of desolate, they're pretty much alone. Like there aren't that many people around, and that's probably pretty true for them. And so it makes this team of like 5 people actually seem like enough, because it's not like there's only 5 people and there's thousands of other people around. There's like 5 people and then just like nothing. So it like works, very good.
I feel like this filmmaker did an incredible job of kind of displaying who Mahmoud really is. He's this like hyper positive person who's just traversing through so much adversity. And I really love the part of the film where we're establishing who he is. And I would assume that they just asked him to stand there and do a video portrait, and he's just smiling. And it just felt so authentic. It was clearly, he came across it, he wasn't being asked to smile. That's just who he naturally is. And I really I found it very powerful. And really some of those aerial shots, there was a moment where it says human rights graveyard. And that was just, it's intense, and I think that, we don't always see that. And when we do, we kind of feel so overwhelmed and kind of just taken aback, and yet there's individuals there who are more positive than most of the people that we interact with. on a daily basis, and I just found it to be a very moving piece.
Yeah. I don't know if they recorded the voiceover like next to like the water, but it kind of felt like there was like a diegetic ocean behind us, and I liked that about it because they probably hear the ocean all the time when they run there on this tiny island.
Yeah, I wonder if there was any thought to like his journey coming over as well. So great piece.
I think she's actually, she would like to extend this and do another project in next year where she's actually I think he's gonna run the entire route, almost basically the refugee route that he took to get to Greece, but to Germany. So it would be a big project for next year.
That's awesome.
Our next film, once again, we have a filmmaker here with us. Alex, where are you? So our next film is called State of the Sport by Andrei, and it is an opening to discussions to change the sport for good. This is State of the Sport.
USATF, the governing body, doesn't care about me at all. They never have, and that is how they operate with a lot of people in the sport. It doesn't matter to them that I exist.
People want to watch track. Like, it's big in Europe. I don't see why it can't be big here. As long as, people put the resources and the time into doing it well and doing it right, I think people are going to watch the sport.
Rules need to change. I feel like, like NASCAR drivers where they have multiple sponsors on their vehicles. I feel like that can just bring in outside companies, outside people, outside donors into the sport, bringing more money.
We're the USA, we're one of the most powerful track teams in the whole entire world, but we have the weakest events, somewhat. Not to rip on us, but everyone's going overseas for the big meets, and I think that's a mistake.
I would just hope others see that there's not one way to do it. Just because you don't have the same setup or the same resources as someone else, that you can't be as successful.
It's the most disorganized professional sport that I've ever seen. The USA Track and Field doesn't seem to care about making money.
My theory's always been you can't be what you can't see, so it's important to have role models. And I had other female role models that I looked up to, but for example, in coaching, there aren't that many female coaches.
We have so many great elite athletes at Nike. Why wouldn't you tap into all that knowledge and continue to, pass that on to future generations,
The thing is that we often have a lot of resources going towards helping those that are already doing the best, especially on the international stage, but the truth is that we should be thinking long term. How can we create the resources for younger athletes or for those developing athletes now so that they don't have to bow out of the sport early and instead can see through to their long-term potential?
Awesome. This is one of those films that I feel like I immediately know what I could do with it right now, and that this fits as a short film over anything longer, because the people who you would want to see this wouldn't even give you the attention for anything longer, and therefore this was the perfect medium for the message you were trying to send. So congratulations, and also you must be a really personable guy to be able to get the interviews from some of the people that are in this. And that just speaks to you as a filmmaker who will continue to find his way in this world and get the interviews, which is sometimes the hardest part, really, is to get people to feel comfortable with you. And clearly they felt comfortable with you, and that's really amazing.
Yeah, when I first saw this piece, if anyone who knows me relatively intimately, I could speak ad nauseum about my distaste for the USATF. So to hear this and to actually have someone go and do what you did, I thought was amazing, because you hear people talk about these sorts of things and just topics in general, and then no one ever does anything about it, right? And to shed a spotlight, not only, get all of the interviews, you have interviews from some of the most powerful athletes in track and field, which is a testament to your tenacity as a filmmaker and your ability to go out and work on this. And I do think that a lot of people who need to be watching this film aren't going to want to watch it, and I think that makes it a very dangerous and powerful film, and I'm very excited to see what you continue to do with this piece.
Thank you once again, and great to have you here. Our next film is called Residence in the Soul by Christian Gracius. It's an intimate portrait of a writer, runner, culture curator, and Black Roses NYC founder Knox Robinson. This is Residence in the Soul.
What's the idea of, you know, sort of a cool social group that's like lifestyle, but then also has performance goals? The two aren't mutually exclusive. You don't find them coexisting in the same space very much. Both are really hard to maintain in equal measure. Therein lies the challenge. I started Black Roses because I don't believe in mutual exclusivity. I don't believe that staying out all night or acting wild doesn't mean you can't run a great marathon or create great works of art or whatever. I'm trying to like figure out how all those spaces can work together. I think some of the resonance of the work I'm doing is that it's just ideas. People want to attack it and they can't find it. Or people want to celebrate it or embrace it and they have to find it within themselves. So you can't buy it, you can't co-opt it, you can't claim it if it's not there because it just disappears like in your hands and when you grab it. But if it takes up residence in your soul, then you have it within you, you know, wherever you go. Running a 2:59 marathon doesn't make your parents or your kids or your partner love you anymore, or less. On the other hand, if you have a goal or you meet a challenge and you work with the challenge and you work through the challenge, the feeling of that sets into your soul, like seeps into your bones, and it changes the way you think about yourself and the world, and that's different. 2:59 marathon doesn't change how you feel about the world, but doing the work to prepare for that changes you.
I just think this film shows so clearly who Christian the filmmaker is because it's so deliberate and stylized, and I think we could see Christian as a filmmaker take on any person and make the subject matter like pair with however he makes it. Like the way that it like cuts is as sharp as the way this protagonist Knox seems to feel about the world. And I just commend, I think, the filmmaker in general for being like intentional and have a point of view. Like it's really refreshing when you see a film where like the filmmaker is in control.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I feel like the filmmaker did a great job in thinking about how to take the words of this protagonist and combine it with the visuals and like kind of the pacing and the music.
The score's so good.
And it really like drove kind of the energy of Knox and what he's doing and all, like just trying to create something new. And I felt like it was exciting, it was energetic, and it was well done.
Excellent. Our next film is by a filmmaker called Jérôme Binette. The film is called Confiné, Confined, and it showcases Montreal during the first few days of the pandemic and the state of mind of a professional athlete. How one can still make sense of his training sessions during those challenging times. This is Confiné.
This is the first pandemic caused by a coronavirus.
Ce sont désormais 3 milliards d'êtres humains qui sont confinés chez eux, soit la moitié de la population mondiale.
Il vous est ordonné de maintenir une distance de 2 mètres entre chacun de vous.
Des mesures exceptionnelles pour répondre à une menace exceptionnelle.
Les premières sorties d'entraînement, j'ai eu une forme de mauvaise conscience d'aller dehors, alors que, bon, au Québec, il fallait respecter la distanciation sociale, mais il y avait une forme de mauvaise conscience parce qu'il n'y avait personne. Alors qu'on pourrait se dire, le calme fait du bien, mais paradoxalement de ne pas entendre les sirènes de pompiers, le bruit des autos. Et c'était assez oppressant l'ambiance, la ville complètement fantomatique. Parfois j'ai l'impression de vivre ma vie sous une forme de bucket list, où il faut cocher des cases de voyage aux quatre coins du monde, alors que notre environnement proche peut être vu avec de nouveaux yeux. La pandémie me fait beaucoup plus apprécier mon environnement immédiat. Ce Covid là, c'est aussi synonyme de confrontation et de confirmation. De confrontation parce que ça a été un choc quand tous les projets s'écroulent. Puis je suis rentré dans une phase d'acceptation et de confirmation parce que je me suis rendu compte qu'il y a plein d'autres défis que les courses qui peuvent me motiver à me lever tôt le matin pour travailler dessus. C'est pas le moment de gâcher une seule journée là, il y a le sablier qui s'écoule et puis chaque grain de sable doit être valorisé.
I feel like this film captures very perfectly what a lot of runners felt during the beginning of the pandemic, like particularly that that journey from feeling the inevitable guilt if you did go outside. Like I certainly felt it. I felt really weird, like I shouldn't be doing that. And then the journey to finding like what you can, how you can shift your perspective. And the visuals in this really struck me because it captured to me the coldness of a city without people. Because the buildings, the water, the bridges, the metallicness, like all of that were not peppered with like the jolliness of like people milling about, and that was really beautiful to me.
Yeah, I think something, obviously this film was technically really well done. I thought the sound design in this film was very strong. It was very emotive. It lent itself really well to the visuals. But what I really liked about this piece when it pertains to running is, although the film starts leaning into running, this athlete, and he's kind of reflecting on kind of how he feels bad, right, as you just discussed. By the end, he shifts it, and I find that it was really good kind of catalyst to relate to anyone if you're running around, and how we all kind of felt during the pandemic and these sorts of things, which I thought was very strong.
Right, like it was like his city was his, it was like an evil enemy at first that he didn't want to be in, and then by the end he was like, actually I don't need to go anywhere, I love this place and this is the place I appreciate. So to have that narrative arc in such a short film is really something.
Yeah, I really like kind of the resolution of the film when he talks about there's other races in life other than running races. And I think a lot of us had to make kind of similar decisions, like, hey, well, certain things that I'm used to doing in life, I can no longer maybe go after. So I'm going to work on some new things. And I think a lot of people pivoted in life. And I think that this individual clearly was making new decisions and figuring new things out. And that was a very relatable way to take running and make it applicable to everybody.
Yeah, and I'd be curious because clearly this was shot like before this competition existed. So I'm curious, like, did this filmmaker have to cut down a longer short film to make this? I assume so, because I think those short films tend to be like a few minutes longer. And so I still think whatever it was in the longer version, I got something tremendous out of the shorter version, and maybe that speaks to your competition to give people even more boundaries, makes them need to kill their darlings even more, and we all need to learn how to kill our darlings.
Yeah, I think the original film was 40 minutes long.
Oh wow.
I think it's 38 minutes.
All he needed was 2 minutes, so it's great.
It was something like 35-40 minutes for the full film. It was actually a Bennett Film Festival selection, so it was well received. But it's amazing what you did to cut it down to a 2-minute version. Our next film is, I wouldn't even really read the bio. It's by Daniel Wynn, who's a close friend of Brenden. I think it's probably safe to say that he submitted a film out of coercion. Brenden just kept telling him, you need to get a film in, you need to get a film in. And I think it probably came in 10-15 minutes before the deadline, the night on the 24th. So this film is called Christina's Fault.
Why am I running? That's a good question. Basically, I'm being chased. I mean, I got into pickpocketing recently, or to put it another way, things are not going well. And the problem is I'm bad at it. I did get the wallet, but he felt my hand in his pocket. I don't know how he couldn't have. I understand if you'd be rooting for the guy who had his wallet stolen. After all, he had his wallet stolen. But I'd really appreciate it if you rooted for me to get away. This wasn't even my idea. My friend said she thought I'd be good at it. I don't know why. I suck. Normally I'm not so easily influenced, but to be honest, I'm secretly in love with her.
She's amazing though, so smart and talented, not without her flaws. For example, she suggests I become a pickpocket.
I actually think I would do really well in prison. I think it would suit me. I think I would develop good reading habits. But I don't really want to find out. Definitely some drawbacks too.
Pickpocketing was such a bad idea, I quit.
Wait, that was a joke.
I think I'm in love with you.
Brenden, thoughts on your friend Daniel's film?
Yeah, I didn't know this film. He didn't tell me that he was making this film. But I think Daniel was a really creative guy. And yeah, I thought this film was pretty hilarious, obviously a little biased. But yeah, it was a really unique way to incorporate running. I thought it was probably the most creative way of incorporating running. It was just totally unrelated to maybe the traditional idea of what most filmmakers submitted with like running as a sport. This is running away from someone that you stole from. Daniel wanted everyone to know that this was simply made to show that he's capable of doing more technical work and that he only had his iPhone, which obviously I think does take away a little bit from the piece. I think being on the judging panel, technically this scored very low. There's audio issues, but I think it was an amazing example of you don't need the best gear, you don't need anything to make something enjoyable and entertaining. And I think at the end of the day, there is no barrier for what makes work good or bad, as long as you care about it and you put effort into it and you're authentic, it can come across. And I think this was a very enjoyable, very lovely piece.
Yes, Daniel, I feel like put forth himself as the most lovable lead character of all the films so far, in terms of like you immediately are rooting for someone that you shouldn't, and he's aware that you shouldn't be rooting for him. And I think Daniel, as a creative person, should know, since we know how late he submitted and how much he sandbagged in some ways, since he says he knows how to be more technical in this, he's like the guy that you that turns in the essay last minute and writes it last minute, and you're still like jealous of them, and they still are super good at what they do. So I hope Daniel Wynn makes more projects, because I know that he has had a creative tickle in him since I first met him when we went to Oregon together. And I always, like, when I meet creative athletes, try to just like keep smiling at them in that way. And I just wanted to say that here, because I'm sure there's a lot of athletes out there who have the itch and who just like need to take the step. And so props to you guys for creating a competition that is accessible and less intimidating than like other entries into this world.
Okay, our last short film. The last of the selection is called Retreat. This one was submitted from Australia, and the filmmaker is called Ben Clement. This film speaks to the theme of retreating as individuals and as a collective, shown through the act of running. We either retreat into our minds for introspection, or we can always retreat away to another environment with others for perspective and collective. Early in 2021, a group of guys from the AM/PM running crew decided to organize a running retreat a few hours out of the city of Melbourne. They would spend the weekend bonding, learning, and growing together, mixed between mindful moments, running, and laughter. The experience taught each individual something new and brought the group together in ways that the effect is still showing up now. This is our last film, Retreat.
To interrupt our anxious thoughts, to shift the first pebble, spawn from a mountain of self-doubt, to stop it all, or just keep it at bay. Take a step back, away, we come together, we retreat, we run. Our modern city lives start to cloud and distort. These distractions, these pressures, they make our minds contort. So we immerse ourselves in a place that makes us feel small, a place to be in awe of natural beauty galore. We come together on sacred lands where bush meets beach and cockatoos flock, watching us from above where ocean salt breaks our cheeks. Reacquainted with fresh, open air, while our stride becomes the echoing sound of our inner pride. On our own, we are slow. We must let go. We run. Disquiet evaporates. Our brains salivate as we long to move with these people who have come together. Sand fills our socks, but we don't care. At one with the thickets and the wild, wild sea. We run, you see.
That was so cool because it was like my favorite films like show me a world that I knew nothing about, and even though we obviously know about running, this specific world is like so foreign to me. Like this group of people. One, I love that I didn't like meet any individuals. It was just like it was this feeling of a small community that we were with for this period of time. They let us. It was just like they were. The filmmaker captured what it was like to be with them in a way where like I completely wanted to be there, and it was so beautiful. The shot where the sweat off the back goes straight to a waterfall was so cool. Like that was so beautiful. I need a second to just think about it because it was like a really like delicious film. I don't know how else to say it other than that. Like it was delicious.
Yeah, I found this film sometimes with narration it can get a bit boorish, and I just kept getting sucked into this group of individuals. It just kept continuing to pull me in, and I felt like I was more intrigued by what the narrator was going to say, and I wanted to listen more to distill it.
It was like a poem, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
it felt
it was
quite
a poem.
abstract.
Yeah. And which is nice.
Yeah, it felt like there was a lot of intention into the narration, and that intention was also reflected in the shots. There was a lot of, there was like clearly creative decisions on the pacing, as you said, like flowing from certain shots that had more literal kind of relationships that were quite creative that you might not pick up depending on how intently you're looking into the film, and that was beautifully done.
Yeah, and so some running films I feel like can be about the hardness of running, like how difficult it is, and this was not about that. Like, we saw them doing hard things, but what we were feeling was camaraderie and the beauty of nature. Like, and it's so cool when what you're watching, like, is hard work, but what you're feeling is what they feel above the pain. Like, they probably are in pain, but they're feeling the nature and they're feeling the community, and that's what we feel watching it. So we're like on the same page as them, and we're included in something, and that's a really nice feeling. So well done, and I will be visiting this place.
Excellent. So let's just give one more round for all the films. We are going to do an audience vote. So Cooper is going to run around, give everyone a piece of paper, a nice little Crayola marker, crayon, and everyone will be able to vote for their favorite films. Should we announce the winners? Okay. So there's 2 prizes that everyone knows about. I think we're going to make a 3rd one. So the audience vote, there's an audience vote here for everyone who has voted. That's a $500 cash prize for the winner. And then we'll do another one. We have to figure out the logistics, but we'll do another one so people can vote online. Again, we're going to kind of streamline this into a show that will be out on YouTube, and either through Instagram stories or something like that. We'll have another way that people who are not here tonight can also vote on their favorite films. So we'll have 2 audience votes, $500, $500, and then we have the judging panel decision, which is the $10,000 budget to produce a film for next year. So, the votes are in. It was very close between 2 films. So the audience vote for Mount Sac Stadium is Alex's State of the Sport.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Congrats.
You do great things with your film. Meaning do the right thing and do something with it.
Awesome. So congratulations. And the winning film, as chosen by our judging panel, is Confiné by Jérôme Binette.
Woo!
Once again, I mean, this was, within 8 weeks, this entire concept was born. Logistics figured out. How do we get people to submit? And then we launched it to the world. So thank you to everyone that's here. Thank you to all the filmmakers who submitted films. Again, it was amazing that we ended up with 35 films, and we actually, we went from a week prior to the deadline saying, I hope we really have at least 6 good films that we can show, to, oh man, how do we cut this down to a reasonable amount for the judges? So we're just, in that first conversation, we were talking about how it's a shame that there aren't more movies about running. That running seems to not get its place in terms of in the creative sphere, just more people creating films about running, different takes on it, etc. So we hope that this is a nice little catalyst to make that happen, and we'll continue to build on this. We'll adjust some things, but we'll continue to build on this. What would you like to see happen in the world of films about running or connected to running?
Well, I think I want to see more screenings on screens like this. Like, I think the idea that we got people out here and like literally blended creativity with running by being out here on the track is like so cool, and like I think we should have some sort of. I just want to see more films like on a big screen like this in the setting, and I think in terms of what we can do to bring running into the arts and have more films about it is to first make sure that the people telling those stories know a bit about the world, meaning we need runners and people who are interested in running to be the storytellers, and that means that those people need to feel like they could be storytellers. And I actually think back to your story about Daniel Wynn and how nervous he was to pursue the arts, and I think now that he's starting to tiptoe in, maybe he will tiptoe in even more, and we should hopefully encourage our other peers that like you can be an athlete or have an interest in running and also have an interest in the arts, and I think those stories should come from our world, and that you are supporting it is a really big deal too, because people look up to brands as leaders, and they look up to, you know, just like they look up to athletes as leaders. So I just think that more than anything, I like when stories about the sport are told by people who know a bit about the sport. So we have to be the storytellers, I think, to do it right.
Awesome. Any closing thoughts from your side, Brenden?
I'm really excited for the future of it. I think that myself personally, running gave me everything in terms of being creative. Almost all my work has been related to running in some facet. So having had that luck and that opportunity, I would love to see it dispersed and to be able to display more of that, because I think that for some reason, I think you could make an argument that any sport or any activity promotes creativity in those that feel creative. But to me, I think there's a lot of people find running as a release, and I think that running is quite unique, and a lot of people start running at an older age, or they start running because it's this cathartic release for them. And I think that there's so many stories that involve people who run, and although running may be a small part of it, it needs to be told, and I hope that we can continue to display more of these stories.
And just like running, like you don't start good at it, but if you put in time, you will improve. I think with the arts, there's like a misconception that you're like gifted or you're not, but it's a discipline that you show up to, just like you're running. And if you put in the time and become a student, like you will improve, and you'll learn the craft and all that. And so I think if you are a runner and you want to be a storyteller in this way, like you already have the skills, like you said, basically.
Yeah, I think creativity is like a muscle. Some people are born a little more jacked than other people, but as long as you work on it, you can grow. And if you don't, that muscle will atrophy. And certain people, exercise a lot more than others. So excited to see the future of filmmaking and running.
Awesome. Well, once again, thanks for joining us, Alexi. Thanks everyone. Take care.